Hey there, book lovers. I'm Haley.
And I'm McCayleigh. Welcome to Two Chicks and a Plot Twist,
The official podcast for the Facebook group, All Things Book Related.
We're two besties who are here to share our love for unforgettable characters, unpredictable storylines, and the books we just can't put down.
From our all-time favorites to the latest releases, we're bringing you deep dives, hot takes, and maybe a little friendly disagreement.
So grab your favorite read and let's get ready for some bookish fun.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Two Chicks and a Plot Twist. We are so glad that you're here with us today. We have got a super fun episode planned for you guys.
That's right. Today we're diving into a topic that's close to every book lover's heart: indie bookstores.
Yes, and we are so excited. We have a special guest joining us today, Kalena. She is the co-owner of a local indie bookstore and a part of an amazing mother-daughter duo behind the shop, and she is an author herself.
Yes, her mom couldn't make it, but we're lucky to have her here to share the inside scoop on running a bookstore and all the joys and challenges of being part of the indie book world.
Plus, we're going to hear about her favorite books, how she decides what to stock in their store, and some tips on how to support your local indie bookstores.
So whether you're a dedicated indie bookshop fan or just curious about what it takes to run one, this episode is going to be so inspiring.
Let's jump in.
Yes, so
Yes.
Say hi, Kalena, and just go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Kalena Miller. I live here in College Station where I co-own and run Hyperbole Bookstore with my mom. We opened the store like a year and a half ago, kind of started working on it like 2.5 years ago. And yeah, I'm also an author. I've written 3 books for children and young adults and kind of come from the publishing world before moving in to the bookstore space.
That is awesome. We did a little research on you. We were like, oh my God, not only is she a bookstore owner, she is an author herself. And I looked into those 3 books and I saw that The Night When No One Had Sex was a 2022 Minnesota Book Award winner. That is so cool.
Yeah, that one, the next one actually won the Minnesota Book Award too, just last year.
Really?
Yeah, in
Gosh.
the middle grade category, so like different category, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that is
That's
so
so
cool. Yeah, and guys, I found the taglines for your books on Hyperbole's website, and I just want to share with everyone what they are. So this one is The Night When No One Had Sex is a sex-positive, all-in-one night romp told from 4 different perspectives. Shannon in the Spotlight is another one of her books. After Shannon accidentally lands a lead role in the summer musical, she realizes she has bigger things to worry about than stage fright in this contemporary middle school novel about strained friendships, the positive power of theater, and the realities of being a tween with OCD. And then we have South of Somewhere, which that just released in spring of 24. The unforgettable tale of a girl, her maybe criminal mom, her babysitting business, and her pet pineapple. I really loved that tagline. I need to get my hands on
Right.
that one.
They all
Let me
sound
just
so
clarify
good.
if anybody is concerned. The first book that has sex in the title is like an upper YA title, so for older
Uh-huh.
teens, and then the next 2 are for like middle schoolers.
Mhm.
Good.
Separate
Okay.
age categories
Good clarification. I just kind of want to ask you, because I self-published my book, and I just wanted to know while we were researching, did you self-publish or traditionally publish?
I am traditionally published for all 3 of them.
That is so cool. Like, you've won life.
I got an MFA in creative writing for children and young adults. And I think from that background, like all of our professors were traditionally published. That's sort of the path that everybody there was on. So it felt kind of most natural for me to go the agent route, especially with middle grade. I'm not gonna lie, like it's very hard to find readers if you're self-published, if you don't immediately have access to schools and librarians. So I think when you're writing for younger kids especially, then if you want to be in those markets, then that's kind of the path you end up on.
Right.
No, that makes sense. And I feel like a lot of people don't think about that, because how often are middle schoolers going to be the ones to go on Amazon to find your
Right.
book?
Right.
So I totally understand that. That's something people don't really think about.
Right.
But how long? Because you have so many. Like, for me, it took me 20 years to write just one book. How long did it take you to write each of these books?
Yeah. Honestly, I can write, I think each of them I wrote in around 6 months. And then it would be
Wow.
another,
That is crazy.
What?
and then another like 6 months back and forth with my agent editing. And then it's like a 2-year-ish editorial process. But before that, then you can be on submission for up to a year, over a year these days. So they end up overlapping some. Like I would be writing the third book while the second one wasn't even published yet, but it was sort of done on my end, and it was just in their hands for proofreading and, you know, the rest of the book creation industry.
Right. 6 months feels so quick to me because McCayleigh and I are both writing books kind of at the same time right now. And she is so much more ahead than I am. I've got like maybe 2 chapters under my belt right now, and it's taking me months. So I can only, like 6 months is crazy. I could not do that.
I will say 2 caveats are, one, when I was doing most of the work on these 3 books, that was my full-time job. I was not doing anything else. And so that is absolutely a privilege that a lot of authors don't have. Kind of making that my day job, I was able to get things done a lot more quickly. And also, kids' books are shorter. That's also a thing.
We're over here writing fantasy novels.
Yeah.
We're like 20,000 words. Like, okay. So why did you choose middle school grade? Is there any specific reason, or did it just call to you and you were like, oh, that's fun, I want to write it?
Yeah, it kind of just called to me. I went into my MFA program planning on writing young adult novels, and that was the first book that I published. But while I was there, I kind of end up working with different authors who you might not have thought about working with before, and just being really inspired by their work and everything we were learning in the program, and also all of the authors that I met there, reading and critiquing their work. And I realized that the voice in middle grade is really fun, and I think there's a lack of pretense to it, which I enjoy, and just the excitement from readers in middle school, right? For me, that was when I loved reading books the most. We just moved. It was before high school, before you had actual schoolwork and stuff,
Right.
And you could tear through those series, and I think there's something really fun and exciting about writing for that demographic. So I kind of just fell into it there, and it came pretty naturally.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, I'm glad you found your niche. I'm on Instagram a lot, and I'm following a trillion authors, and a lot of them are not traditionally published, me included, but we have a hard time finding niches, and so we're always all over the place. And then it becomes, okay, what do you write for? Yourself? For an audience? Are you trying to make money? And it's good that you have a niche and you found it, because there are so many that haven't. But do you have anything else you're like working on right now? Are you expecting to submit anything soon that you want to share?
So I technically have a book on submission right now, but it's not going to sell. It's been forever. Not feeling great about that. It was another YA novel that I think is brilliant, but YA is a little slow. So is middle grade. Just turnaround times are really long, and when I tell my agent I want to send out like a weird literary Salem Witch Trials inspired YA, it's just not the most commercial. Actually working on an adult romance right now, which is new for me.
That's right up our alley.
Right now it's just for fun. I don't know if I'm going to submit it. I haven't necessarily asked my agent if she wants my adult books. She's the best. I'm sure she will. But like, she's a children's agent primarily, so it's mostly for fun, just kind of messing around. I've been reading a lot of romance, and I always kind of end up wanting to create in whatever I'm reading.
No, that's so awesome. And I mean, I guess if they did say no, one, you could, I guess, find another agent, right? Or maybe if you ever were interested in self-publishing it yourself, you could, but then you're in charge of finding your own editor and cover designer and all that. Or do you do that now? Do they take care of all that for you? I don't do any of it.
I probably wouldn't ever do it. A dream. Would rather not publish than work that hard.
Really?
There's something
I love it.
I feel like you're on the other side of this, but there's something very freeing about like sending away the manuscript, and I don't mind giving up control. I love it. Please fix it.
Like, you're done.
Make it pretty. Do whatever. Please just.
Yeah, and you know they will, because they're trying to sell it. So like, why wouldn't they make it the prettiest they could make it? So I totally understand.
Exactly. I'm not cut out for. I hate editing. If I'm being totally honest, I despise revising, and I will do it. and I will put up with it for as many rounds as I need to, but I don't like it.
Yeah, no, you spend more time editing, like at least me, I will spend more time editing than actually writing the story. I don't want to be an editor, I want to be a writer. Ooh. So, very frustrating. But let's go ahead and get into Hyperbole Bookstore talk.
Yeah.
So, Hyperbole opened in October of 2023.
Yeah.
It's 2025 now. That feels
wild.
like so fast.
I remember when the store first opened. Me, my boyfriend, and my little sister all went there on opening day. I think we met you and your mom. It was crazy. It was so packed. I think we saw it on the news like the night before, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, we have to go. We live like 5 minutes away. Obviously, we need to go." And so we went there. It was so packed. But I got a book and I got stickers and I got like a little bookshelf end thing that was so cute. But we loved going there. So what really inspired you and your mom to open this store together? Because McCayleigh and I were talking about it. I can only imagine opening some type of business with a family member, and it sounds so stressful to me.
Yeah, like,
I think for us, it's the opposite of stressful. We've always been really close, and we've worked closely on other stuff too. She helps with editing my books, and we have kind of been adjacent in professional circles before. But it turned out better than I could have expected, and we decided to keep it small. Originally, we were planning on hiring people, and then once we started, then we were like, let's not.
right.
It's a small space, and even 2 people there feels like a lot. But it's so easy to be so close with the person, at least for me, that I'm running a business with, and that I never really have to fully explain what I'm thinking. She's kind of already there with me, and we can use ridiculous shorthand and use shortcuts that would make no sense to other people. So it's fun. I think in a bookstore setting, right? I don't think that would scale up particularly well. We would have to readjust some of those systems, but for us it's been a really great professional relationship as well.
That's so cool. Those are some points that I've never thought of before. Yeah. So that's awesome. I assume that you and your mom were readers and into books and writing before even opening the bookstore. Can you tell us about the moment when you first decided this was something you wanted to do as a teen?
Yeah, so we were both living in Minnesota. That's where I'd gone to school, and my husband and I had moved back there, and my mom had moved there as well. And in the Twin Cities, like in Minneapolis, St. Paul, there are 1,001 bookstores, mostly independent, and it's just the best environment to be an author and a reader. There are events constantly. It's so much fun. And we wanted to be a part of that. I mean, I feel like it's common to think like, oh, I really want to open a bookstore.
Every reader's dream.
Right, but I think given our backgrounds, owned small businesses before, we'd both kind of worked in publishing and editing. As an author, then you become pretty familiar with the publishing landscape, even in genres you don't write in, like who's publishing what editors are doing this, like what styles are popular, right? So I think having some of that inside scoop made the transition seem easier. And we were actually originally looking at the very beginning at spaces in Minnesota. And we heard back from these realtors we had been talking to, and we're like, we absolutely cannot afford this rent. Like, it won't work.
Right.
And then I randomly was like, we should open a bookstore in College Station, because I grew up here and my mom was at A&M for a very long time. And we always complained about how there wasn't an independent bookstore. And we Googled it again, and we're like, wait, is there still not an independent bookstore? That's wild. I didn't super want to move back to Texas, but my mom has a ton of friends here and family. And so it felt natural. And my husband was like, yeah, there'll be more tacos. So it was a very weird and quick decision, because it just kind of felt right in the moment. And we'd already kind of done some of the prep work. So we just shifted where that was going to be. And the opportunity to open an independent bookstore in a city of this size that doesn't have one is not a thing that exists most places. There's a little bit of a bookstore desert here, so fill that hole.
And you would think it would be the opposite with everyone at A&M, everyone at Lynn, everyone pretty much in the College Station area are young people. So you would think all these young potential readers out there would need somewhere to go.
Exactly.
Right. The amount of times I've seen on Facebook and all these Facebook groups about hey, I want to start a book club. Okay,
Yes.
the amount of people that are also into reading that I see on these Facebook groups locally, and there was never an indie bookstore before now? What in
Yeah,
the
the
world?
last one was in the 80s.
That's
They were open
crazy.
for a couple years in the 80s, I think.
How are we just surviving on Barnes and
Right?
Noble, man?
Right.
What?
Oh my gosh.
So, with owning a bookstore, there's obstacles. So, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when starting the business, and how did you overcome them?
I think all of the book stuff came naturally.
Huh.
There was a learning curve for everything else. We started with an empty shell, so we had to do the full build out with architects and city
Wow.
codes and this and that, and that's not what we do.
No.
And so
Right.
the same thing with some of the business ends, like taxes and accounting, and I talk about that as if my mom does all the tax and accounting.
Oh, good. I'm gonna
Like,
say,
I haven't had to learn.
in one ear, out the other. I have no clue.
We have our areas of expertise, and mine don't involve numbers.
Same.
And so I think for those things, we just did the best we could to surround ourselves with people who knew what they were talking about and who we trusted. And that worked, I think, right? Like there's so many great professionals in this area that we were able to find a great realtor and a great architect and the best contractors, and it kind of came together in collaboration with them, which we needed help on that for sure.
Right.
No, that's so
Wow.
awesome. I'm glad you had it all figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, the store looks great, you guys.
Yeah.
The inside of this store, it's so sleek and modern.
Thank
I
you.
love it
I
so
designed
much.
it in The Sims.
Did you really?
I did.
Stop.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Wait,
I
pause
downloaded
the
custom
interview.
content bookshelves and stuff in The Sims, and I made my mom look at it, and I was like, okay, what about tape? And so we originally did it in The Sims.
That
I
is so
love
cool.
that. No, the amount of times I've tried redesigning the interior of my house in The Sims is ridiculous. And then I try to like actually calculate like the little square size on the blueprints when you're in build mode on The
Oh
Sims.
my god.
And I'm like, okay, is one square a foot? And then I try to actually make it to scale, and sometimes
Yeah.
it'll work, sometimes it won't. But
That is crazy.
I'm
Oh
a
my
fellow
gosh.
simmer. Haley, do you play Sims? I just need to know.
I know what it is. I've never played it before.
Boo. Okay.
I'm sorry.
My
Moving
favorite
on.
soapbox is that in The Sims, in their writing career, then the easiest book is a children's book, and that is offensive because the level 1 book is a children's book, which I take great offense to, and the level 10 book is a autobiography, as if that isn't the easiest freaking thing to just ramble on about your life. Anyway,
Oh my god. No,
the
wait.
developers need to work on that.
Do you always make a sim, and is she always like a writer? Like, do you make yourself, or do you make other people and play it?
I make other people, but I often do the writer thing, but then I'm always jealous of like how they can write like 2 books a day. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm slacking.
Right. So, yeah, anyways.
Well, going back to owning a business with your mom, how do y'all kind of balance roles together? How do y'all make any sort of big decisions, or kind of
Yeah.
what kind of strengths do y'all bring each of y'all to the table?
I think in terms of inventory and book selling, then we have pretty distinct areas of the store where we do all of the buying for our sections. And so there isn't a lot of overlap. So I cover fantasy, romance, and then all of teen, YA, and kids. And she does fiction, historical, thriller, and all of our nonfiction. And then for sidelines like gift items, we really it's mostly pretty settled right now. But if one of us finds something cute or, wants something, then we kind of just get whatever we want. But we'll talk through that and figure out where things are going to go. In terms of other parts of the business, we've settled into pretty distinct roles that work for us as well. So I do all of our social media and all of the like photography and posting and content for that. My mom, as I mentioned, does more stuff on the business end, so she is dealing with money and accounting and paying taxes and all of that less fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so you just kind of like touched on it some, but when you choose books to stock, do y'all tend to lean more towards a specific genre that you want in the store, or are you just always everything all the time, or do you specifically look more at what's selling everywhere else? How do y'all decide what makes the shelf?
Yeah, it's definitely like one of the more daunting but also really fun things. We are very lucky to have the best point of sale system
Good.
for bookstores it's called Book Manager. If you're opening a bookstore, FYI, you need Book Manager. I know it's a 2-year wait list. Just get on
Oh my God. What?
Dang.
Oh, it's crazy. They are the best of the best. We are very lucky that we only had to wait like 6 months. But they have fully integrated inventory and book searching, and you also can see how books are ranking in popularity within time periods, within region, like all of the functionality you need is there. So what we did, we just finished doing March, or I'm almost done with March, but we'll look at every book coming out in March. And I go through by genres and kind of click through every single page and decide on every book, do we want it or do we not? And they're ranked by popularity, so I'll go until I'm getting to pages of books that nobody is stocking or are reprints or things like that. We look at like reviews some as well, like Kirkus reviews. Those are all public and accessible, and you can see pretty much most traditionally published books that are coming out are listed there with reviews. And so it's a mix of what we like and what is popular, and honestly that intersects a lot. I mean, we're a small space, we don't carry every book, but we are more limited in terms of what genres we carry, in terms of how deep we go in the genres. So we are limited in our nonfiction. We have narrative nonfiction and some general nonfiction and memoir, but we don't carry, for example, social sciences or psychology or hard science. The more academic subjects, we don't carry religious books just because it's not our genre, and our Barnes & Noble has a huge selection, so they kind of have it covered. Yeah. So by cutting out a lot of those sections, that's just not really the identity we've cultivated. Again, if there's something really popular in social sciences, it'll just go in nonfiction. We're not going to not bring something in.
Yeah.
But we try to stick within the genres that we know our customers are expecting to see.
Wow. Well, I love that, because that you're also looking at like Barnes and Noble, and like you don't obviously want to compete with them, so you're not going to stock books that they have a trillion of on display.
To some extent, like an independent bookstore can't compete with Amazon. They have every book in the world, and they're always going to be discounted. Because Amazon sells books as loss leaders to put independent bookstores out of business. It's just, the fact of the matter. And I would love for people to shop at independent businesses and bookstores specifically. But sometimes we just can't beat the prices, and that's just the way it is. When Amazon is selling a book for cheaper than we can source it from a publisher, like it's not gonna work. I know Barnes & Noble's in the same position a lot of times. I worked there when I was younger, not at this one in Minnesota. And so it was even more stressful, the number of people wanting Amazon price matched and having to say, that's not, this is a real bookstore. That's not. And they can do more discounts than we can. So I think you just have to appeal to the community and what you bring, rather than trying to stock every book or trying to match prices, which you just can't.
And well, speaking of the community, how has the people in College Station responded to your bookstore?
It has been amazing. Like you guys were saying, there's so many readers here. And it's so much fun. I swear every week there are new people who are like, I just discovered your bookstore. This is so cool, which I love. But we also have so many regulars who we now know them and their kids, and they come all the time and come to our events. And it's just a great mix of people. We're not like a small town or anything. But being in a community that is a little bit more tightly knit, and there is, for a lot of people, they have an interest, or especially a renewed interest lately, in supporting local businesses. That's always kind of been a core value of the community. It's been wonderful, right? Like, it's great to be a bookstore in a place where people value that already.
So let's get a little gushy, emotional, all the things. So do you have like a favorite memory that you can think of or experience from running the bookstore together with your mom?
So many. I'd have to pick our Iron Flame release, which happened 3 weeks after we opened. We didn't get the book order in time because we weren't physically open.
Yeah.
And we had all these people asking for a midnight release party, and we were so excited about it, and we thought we had X number of books coming, and we found out that week that they weren't coming. And I was devastated. I was like, crying in the back room. I was so stressed out because I was like, these people want a party and they're never going to come back again and blah, blah, blah. And obviously that was an overreaction. But I'm good at that. But we sent an email to everybody who had pre-ordered and we canceled the party. We were, trying to do all the right things. It was 3 days before the book release and I had just left the store because I was going to see, I think Hairspray was at Opus or something. I was going to that. And the president of Entangled, the publisher who publishes Fourth Wing, called the bookstore. And they talked to my mom on the phone and they said, we saw your post on Instagram and we want to save your book party.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
We were overjoyed and we were like, it's coming out in 3 days. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it's going to happen. Like we know there are problems with distribution and we are trying to save events at as many independent bookstores as we can. So they overnighted giant cartons of books to us that weren't the ones we ordered. They were separate ones. And they put us in touch with the editor of the book who lives in Houston.
Wow.
The editor of Fourth Wing and the executive editor at that imprint now lives in Houston. And she drove halfway to College Station with her car full of her own personal copies of the books. And my mom met her in a Starbucks parking lot and she just they gave us the books. It was our 3rd week of being open.
Wow.
They just saw us on Instagram. I'm so glad I tagged them, right? Not to be snarky or mean, but just so people could find it and know that we were having it. Yeah, and they saved the party. And so we were able to have books for every single person who came and then some. And we had people driving from all over the state. And it was just the coolest thing. And I remember in that moment being like, oh my God, this is what we're able to do as a bookstore. And it's fantastic.
That made my heart so happy.
I know.
It was the best time. It was so fun. I think it was also funny for me coming from like an author background where as an author, you can't get an email back from anybody ever. It's like your editor will talk to you, but you want to talk to marketing? Absolutely not. Like,
oh my God.
Like you'll go through the proper channels and you'll talk when they talk to you. To suddenly have the president of a publisher be like, oh yeah, we'll fix this for you. I was like,
wow, that makes me love this publisher. I'm going to Google them more later.
I will not stand for any Red Tower slander. They are fantastic.
Oh my gosh. And then going on, do you have any advice that you would give to other aspiring indie bookstore owners who want to work together as a family?
Yeah, I think you just have to have the right personalities, which I don't know how you gauge that.
You just got to get lucky, I guess.
I think there are a few, like, I think one of the non-negotiables is that you have to know books. Mm-hmm. And that isn't something that you can learn overnight. I always try to tell people, like, it's retail. It's still retail. It's cute retail, but it's still retail. So all of those hurdles, issues, painful spots are still there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so vital to understand what you're selling. And that's not a body of knowledge that you can accrue overnight. So I think that's why so many book people open bookstores, is because they're the ones who are able to do so.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't really have advice in terms of like working with a family member because it comes very naturally to me. It just works. And my other advice, as I mentioned before, is book manager. If anyone is thinking about opening a bookstore, that is your point of sale system.
Wow.
They're the ones you want.
I love that. So to kind of wrap all this up, just one more question. Are you reading anything right now that you can say is good?
What am I reading right now? I mentioned that I was in a romance kick. So I just finished, I'm catching up on my Abby Jimenez. So I just read.
She is on our TBR. We want to read her so bad.
Read her. She's also from Minnesota. I live like down the street from her bakery.
She has a bakery?
She does. Uh-huh. She's been on like Food Network. She won Cupcake Wars or something.
Yeah.
She's
Where
like super. Yeah.
What the heck?
I love her. I just read Part of Your World. I cried. It was so good. And then what did I start reading? I just started Expiration Dates by Rebecca Serrell, which is more like women's fic.
Mm-hmm.
I sell it a lot, so I thought I should read it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes that's how it's like, okay, I've hand sold this enough. I should maybe read it and know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Oh, so lastly, is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners, whether it's about you as an author or the bookstore itself?
Not that I can think of. I mean, this has been wonderful. I feel like your listeners are probably on board with this, but I think I would just encourage people to shop local whenever they can. I think with how much power Amazon as a company has right now in every area of the country beyond retail, that's a scary proposition. And so doing everything we can to keep a monopoly from becoming even more of a monopoly is great. I know it's not always possible, but when it is, check out your local bookstore. There's so many. They're everywhere. They're really fun. And they're run by real people and not robots.
Yay! My goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank
and we
you.
loved having you. You are so insightful, and I learned so much just based on our conversation here. I've never looked into, opening a bookstore myself, but I feel prepared now in case I ever do.
I mean, there's so many readers out there who want to be authors, who want to own bookish businesses. So I think that they will definitely take some of these tips with them. Kind of moving forward. You gave us so many good thoughts today.
Yay, I'm so glad.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Yes, bye.
Alright guys, that's a wrap on today's episode of Two Chicks and a Plot Twist. We hope you enjoyed hearing our interview with Kalena and her story of owning an indie bookstore. We would love to hear your thoughts about this episode, so send us a message or comment on our socials.
Thank you guys so much for listening and supporting us. If you're interested in being a guest on our podcast, check out our Instagram or Facebook page at Two Chicks and a Plot Twist. There is a sign-up form in our link tree. From our link tree, you can also visit our website and sign up for our email newsletter.
Yes, and you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Haleys.books.
And you can follow me on Instagram at McCayleigh Daniels.
Join us for our next episode, guys. We are going to be discussing our favorite book boyfriends.
Yes, and you can expect a podcast episode from us every Thursday. See you next time.
Bye!